Today's episode is brought to you by Geico. Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. But you know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's insurance or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing too, because you already have so much to do around the house. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. And we thank them for sponsoring today's podcast. Man, we are saving people money left and right over at savewithconrad.com, but don't take my word for it. Check out conradreviews.com. Here's what you'll find over there. A 5-star review from Joseph in Alexandria, Virginia. He says, once again, Conrad and his team hit a home run. Jimmy, as always, kept in constant communication during the whole process, gave us options, and made the process smooth and easy. Who knew listening to a wrestling podcast would help me out financially? And here's another 5-star review from Ian F. in Pottstown, PA. Always fast to respond to any questions I had, and boy, did I have a lot. Thankfully, they cut 2 years off my old mortgage and saved $80,000 over the life of the loan. $80,000? Are you kidding me? He's a wrestling fan who listens to this podcast just like you, and his family gets to keep an extra $80,000. Now, without calling SaveWithConrad.com, they would have worked for that money, paid taxes on it, and then just given it away. Don't do that. Keep more of your own money. Hurry to SaveWithConrad.com. And I'm talking to you if you're in a 30-year loan, if you've got a second mortgage, if you've got credit card debt. It's not a matter of if we can save you money. It really is a matter of how much. Rates are at near historic lows, and there's never been a better time to refinance than right now. Your house is worth more than ever. You have more equity than ever before. And what does that represent to you? The biggest opportunity to change your life financially once and for all. You can get the best rate you've ever had on a mortgage. You can get rid of all your credit card debt, saving $500, $600, $700, even $800 a month. And here's the deal, guys. Once you owe this money, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to pay it back at the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you need to take advantage of it. You can even pull some cash out to do some remodeling around the house. What if some of that equity you've got, you used to put a pool in the back, or maybe add a new office, or even better, a man cave? Come on, get you some of that. It sounds too good to be true, but we can do it for you too right now. And again, you don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. And if we can't save you some cash, we won't waste your time. Punch it in at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Oh, and did I mention no house payments for 2 months? Check it out. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com. So a lot of us have been through this. Finding that person you want to spend the rest of your life with is great, but you hate all the pressure of what's next. Of course, there's all the engagement talk, but then there's the pressure from actually shopping for a ring. Hassle, haggling, finding a store to trust, trying to figure out the 4 C's, discounts, sales, coupons, styles, and all the other nonsense. But at least those are all fantastic reasons to put off getting engaged. And that's why guys really hate Steven Singer. He takes away every excuse in the book about not buying the ring. And he makes it so easy. I hate Steven Singer. Steven Singer is a Philly jeweler that has been making it so easy to buy real diamonds for over 4 decades. He specializes in diamond engagement rings and has a staff of real experts, real jewelers, real people that are ready to help you find the perfect ring or gift at the perfect price. There's no call center. There's no sales. There's no haggling. There's no coupon codes. There's no discounts. Just the best price possible, guaranteeing the best value every single day. Check Steven out at the other corner of 8th and Walnut in Philly. And by the way, they're open now. You don't need an appointment. Just stop by. Or online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Always with fast and free shipping. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Or if you're in the area, go check him out anytime at the other corner of 8th and Walnut in Philly. As for me here in Alabama, I'm going to check out IHateStevenSinger.com. And you should too.
Welcome to Something to Wrestle With. Bruce Pritchard. Well, you know.
That's not a rib.
She pooted.
What a rib?
No, yeah, but
There's no box of gimmicks.
Rumor and innuendo.
I don't deal in rumor and innuendo.
And
Was he there? I was there.
say something about
I don't give a shit. I ain't scared.
I ain't scared to
Fuck him.
you, Bruce.
You take the cheese. Double cheeseburger. You take the bread. Double cheese. Well, you know. And then double mayo. You know, it's called chicken salad. Double onion, motherfucker. You're nothing but an egg-sucking dog.
Throw it in your Google machine.
Goddamn, kid. Goddamn it. What the hell show you got there? I need more. Ooh, yeah.
What say you?
Pronouns, pal.
And now, something to wrestle with. Con Bruce Pritchard.
The second most recognizable athlete in the entire world today.
Conrad Thompson.
What happened when? What would Vince say about that?
Well, hey Vince, to the
My sure arms look good tonight.
yeah,
They're so big.
yeah.
Let's go.
Bullshit.
Welcome to WrestleMania.
Roll tide on that.
Welcome to something to wrestle with.
Something to wrestle with.
Something to wrestle with.
Dig it.
Bruce Pritchard.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hello, Paul.
Hey, cut that shit out. I'm back. I'm allowed to take a day off every now and again. And I missed a show. Big deal. I'm back.
Where were you?
I was in Las Vegas.
There was some guy that like my thing went do 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 diddly do 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 diddly do do, and you know that's your fucking sound on the computer thingy that I hit the button, and there's a bald dude there, and he's like, hey, Mike, and
I'm sorry.
and then he started asking me questions.
Well, since we tried with me being out, maybe the next time you have to be out, what if I just called Dr. Tom and he just did his Jim Cornette impression?
Okay,
I'm just saying that way we could let.
why don't you try that? Why don't you try that? See how that works out for you.
I'm just glad you had time today on America's birthday, no less. We're putting one in the can early, Daddy.
Well, that's what I do, man.
Oh, of course.
I missed early and fucking on top of shit.
Well,
I've been up since 7:30 this morning. Because here's where I was confused. You told me the time that you were going to do other things, and so that confused me because I was thinking that, well, hell, I'm an hour behind him when really I'm an hour ahead of you. And then so I was an hour behind, but I was really ahead. So therefore that was extra time that I was up and just didn't know really what the fuck to do.
well, and now here we are, rip roaring, ready to go to talk about Bret Hart's 1993. We have had a lot of fun talking about Bret over the years here on the show, but we've not really broken down, his 93, which I think is a very pivotal year in his career. Bret's the top guy, but we're going to get someone to replace him, but he's still the workhorse. We're going to start 93 with Bret Hart as the WWF champion. He's being built to face Razor Ramon at the Royal Rumble. This is an interesting time in Bret's career. You know, he was tag team specialist for so long, has the big intercontinental run. He beat Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam and Madison Square Garden in 91. 92, he really is going to get the quote unquote rocket strapped to him. He's going to have Ric Flair submit to him in Canada and become the world champ for the first time. What's Bret's attitude starting the new year as the champ?
Well, by this point, I think that Bret was looking at it as this is a brand new adventure and that Bret's going to be the man, and kind of figuring when you look at past champions, in particular Hulk and the Ultimate Warrior, that Bret's looking at it as like, okay, man, the company's on my back, the ball's in my court, let's go. And I think that was Bret's attitude right about this time coming into everything.
Trade pros. Whether you specialize in service or new construction, Ferguson knows firsthand how much work goes into a long day on the job, which is why we're committed to offering the products and solutions to get every job done right. With over 1,000 locations, an unmatched selection of specialty products, tools, and supplies, our pro pickup and same or next day delivery, you can trust that doing business with Ferguson will be the easiest part of your hard day's work. Visit Ferguson.com to find a counter location near you.
I know this sounds silly and you're going to make fun and you're going to point and laugh, and I'm ready for it. But wrestling fans, a lot of times get caught up in what we've been reading, things like the Observer and the Torch and things like that. And obviously, as you're talking about this transition period, for lack of a better word, where we're going from Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior style main events to now Bret Hart's the champ. He's going to be going on last. He's the main event. That's going to raise the overall match quality. And I don't even think that's really up for debate. Was that a conscious decision by Vince McMahon, or was he more interested in, hey, who do we think is going to be the next big draw? Because those are sometimes two totally different things. Who can you get the best match out of, and who's the best draw? Clearly he's in the business of professional wrestling to make money and sell tickets and promote events. And you need your biggest draw possible for that. There's been a huge groundswell of support in Europe, especially for Bret. You're getting inundated with letters. Anytime he's on the card, it's a sellout for whatever reason. Europe loves Bret Hart. How important was, we're going to make sure we've got better matches? Is that even on Vince's radar in this era?
Well, first of all, you're in the business of sports entertainment.
Yes.
So you got to entertain people, and it is a business. So you're looking at what's going to draw, what is going to make the most money. If a good match is a part of that, that's a bonus. Hulk Hogan wasn't the greatest worker in the world, nor was the Ultimate Warrior. However, they drew. People came to see them in droves. They sold a lot of merchandise in droves. So for business, that's what you're looking for. And for the people that read dirt sheets and that's the only way they get their information, I feel very sorry for them, because most of the time it's misinformation and lies and gossip. But to those people that enjoy that, yeah, there's that on the card as well. And if you can please everybody, that's a beautiful balance to do. Problem is, you can't please everybody all the time.
So there's another major change that's happening here for the World Wrestling Federation. They're going to change from primetime wrestling to Monday Night Raw. And it feels like a major moment that the company is changing directions, really in more ways than one, not just in who is our champion and what's he about and what's he look like, but also how do we present our product? 93 is a critical year on all fronts, is it not?
Yeah, it's definitely a year of change. And it's definitely a year of, looking at formulas and looking at things that have been done in the past and looking to deviate on those formulas and looking for new ways to present the product.
Before we get to Bret and Razor, I want to note that at the turn of the year, Bret's working house shows with a lot of people, including Ric Flair, before Rick's going to finish up in January after the Rumble, doing that whole loser leaves match with Perfect. He's even doing marathon matches, which I guess we'll call in the future Iron Man matches. Do you remember Bret here in late 92, early 93 expressing any dissatisfaction with working with Rick? Because I know that would become a hot button issue years later.
I think that once Bret had the opportunity to work with Rick, that he kind of realized Rick had fallen into, I don't want to call him a one-trick pony, but Rick had his match. Rick had his style down, and Rick was going to work the way Rick was going to work. And Bret, I think, kind of prided himself on having different matches and being able to do different things all the time, and didn't feel that he could do that with Rick.
Bret's scheduled to face Bam Bam Bigelow to headline an MSG show. And there's also talks of Bret versus Doink to headline some shows. Is the heel side of the roster just depleted?
Pretty much at this point. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely struggling, but at the same time, you're kind of looking for new as well. And, there's still, if you bring someone and you put them in on top, then they're going to be viewed as a top guy. That's the hope. And Doink had a lot of momentum, if that's what you're referring to. I mean, Doink the Clown was somebody that came in, got over. It had a shitload of momentum going for him. The Matt Bourne Doink. I always have to preface that.
It's a fact that a child's body temperature rises 3 to 5 times faster than an adult's, and leaving a child in a hot vehicle can lead to their death very quickly. Sadly, in 2020, 24 children died of pediatric vehicular heat stroke, and many of these incidents occurred when parents or caregivers simply forgot the child was in the car. Unintentionally leaving a child in a car is a tragedy, and it can happen to anyone. Please set yourself reminders on your cell phone or place something you'll need in the back seat to help you remember that your child is still in the car. If your partner or caregiver is taking your child to daycare, check with them or the child care staff to make sure that the child was dropped off. And when you've arrived at your destination, always check to make sure the car is empty. Heat stroke deaths are preventable when adults take the proper precautions. Be safe and always look for your baby before you lock. Paid for by NHTSA. Talk to me a little bit about Hulk Hogan. It makes the newsletters, the Torch and the Observer, that I guess effectively Hulk Hogan sniffing around again. Is he reaching out to the company because he sees this as an opportunity, maybe where he could, I don't know, have some value, get a big payday for himself? Or is Vince starting to worry, hey man, do we have the star power here that we need for 1993?
Well, I don't know about the term Hulk sniffing around. I think that, well, first of all, Hulk and Vince have always had dialogue. Even when Hulk was in WCW, Hulk and Vince always had dialogue, good, bad, or indifferent. There was always discussions and there was always talk because, there was also a friendship there. It was sometimes a love-hate relationship, but there was a relationship and a friendship there that, Hulk was always looking, what you got, brother, no matter who it was and where it was.
So let's get to the Rumble match. We should mention Razor's coming in with a bad knee. They still have a good match though. 3.25 stars according to the Observer. 17 minutes and 52 seconds is what it takes for Bret to win with the sharpshooter. What'd you think of the match? Bret wrote in his book that Razor was quote unquote still so green. And I'm curious to hear your take on this match.
Well, I thought that the match was good, and green or not, Razor wasn't that damn green, but Razor, it was a different style, and Razor's a deceptively big son of a bitch, man. Scott Hall's a big guy. But I thought that they worked well together. And I think that Razor was the type of character and the type of worker that could adapt to anybody's style. And that, I thought that it looked good. I thought that they did a good job together.
Yokozuna is going to win the Rumble. So the main event is determined now for WrestleMania. It's Bret versus Yoko. And this is really the first Rumble that had the stipulation where the winner was guaranteed a match at WrestleMania. What did Bret think of Yoko being moved to the top of the card? Was he excited to work with him?
I think everybody on the babyface side was a little excited. It was brand new, so it was fresh and it was different. And I dare say beyond Andre the Giant that there wasn't a heel like Yoko anywhere in the business, especially at that time. I think that some of the bigger guys in the history of the business had been positioned as baby faces, and you can go back to Haystacks Calhoun, Happy Humphrey, Andre, the McGuire twins, but big guys like that were positioned as baby faces for the most part. And in comes this, big killer Yokozuna that is going through everybody and decisively to the point where you're looking at it going, how do you stop it?
It's going to be an interesting story. I'm excited for us to dig down into it. We should mention again, the Monday Night War thing. We still haven't really embraced what it's going to become. He doesn't even wrestle, he being Bret, pronouns pal, on the show until March 1st. He faces Fatu and goes 15 minutes and 6 seconds before getting the win with a sharpshooter. So it's almost 2 months from the time the show is relaunched to when the world champion is in the ring on the show. We're still figuring out sort of what the new normal is and what the direction of Raw should be, I assume, right?
Well, no, I mean, again, we go back and you go back in the archives and listen to some of the things about what Raw was supposed to be in the beginning. And I always laugh at it when I go back and think about what we were trying to do. And what we were trying to do from a budget standpoint, we had primetime wrestling on Monday nights where we would bring in a lot of talent and as guests and do kind of a panel type television show. As we looked at it, that was becoming very expensive to pull people off of the road in the middle of tours to come in and do this. And then you had to put them up in hotels and what have you. Business overall was kind of down. And the thought of, do we concentrate on the Northeast and do we maybe build an arena in Stamford, take the warehouse that we had at the time and turn that into an actual studio arena. The warehouse was attached to the studio, and that was the thought starter of Monday Night Raw, and it evolved into the Manhattan Center and what have you. But it was a way to save money initially to do a live television show, have the tour come through in the Northeast, have talent there, and do a live show. It's a 1 hour live show. It was more than anything to save money and try and, I don't know, present the product in a different light.
I'm just saying a decade prior, when TBS was all the rage and it was the first super station that you could get coast to coast, Ric Flair didn't wrestle on there every week as the world champion. It was rare that you saw him. If you wanted to see him, he'd come out and do interviews, but if you want to see him wrestle, you got to come buy a ticket. And this is before television rights and all that are really all the rage. And yeah, there may be line items. You're getting a little bit here or there, but by and large, you're a live event company. You're a pay-per-view company. If you want to see the world champion, you better buy a ticket or go down and buy a pay-per-view, right?
Absolutely. And this was an opportunity to expose your stars, but we also wanted to give them a little extra and to have a little bit more competitive matches. Not to the extent of what it would become. However, this was the infancy of trying to do that.
What we've talked about a lot in our archives over at somethingtowrestle.com, maybe one of the most heated debates we ever had was the program between Bret and Hulk. Of course, it was all hypothetical, but check out Hulk Hogan in 1993 if you want to hear more on that. But at this point, Bret's the top guy, but quickly Hogan starts being promoted as the top star for the upcoming WrestleMania, because anytime Hogan's making an appearance, it's going to be the talk of the promotion. So he's coming back. Do you remember Bret having a concern that Hogan was coming back, or was he excited thinking, hey, maybe this is a chance I can work with him as a single?
A little bit of both. I think that Bret was excited and looking forward to the opportunity to work with Hulk. And then also, I think there's a little bit of, we didn't really know. Okay, great. Hulk's back for WrestleMania. And at the time, in the very beginning, there wasn't a lot of, we know that Hulk's going to be here for the long run, and is, the much debated, which people don't seem to understand. And I'm not even going to try and explain it for the 100th time, of bringing Hulk back and what we did with Hulk. I think Hulk was always looked at as a short-term deal. So
Bret's going to start working Yokozuna on the house show loops, and I'm sure they're doing this to, make sure their WrestleMania match is tight. Do you remember hearing reports on any of those house show matches?
Yeah. I mean, there was chemistry. Rodney was excellent, and Bret was the type of guy that could work pretty much with any adversary and make it look good. So it was all positive from that vein.
What do you remember the original plans being for Bret here? The rumor and innuendo, and we've talked a lot about it, is that we were going to wind up with Bret and Hulk at SummerSlam. Was Bret always scheduled to win the King of the Ring tournament to build to that?
Pretty much. The thought was, in many respects, as you're looking at it, you had Bret, but as we got closer to WrestleMania and you're watching Yokozuna and you're hearing these reports and you're seeing everything on the live events, it's like, Man, we haven't had a heel champion that is a threat in forever. And the thought was, if there was ever a guy that you could put the championship on, that would be Yokozuna. That would be a real threat. That was a nasty heel. That was an unbeatable heel. It's like, how the hell, how do you get him down? How do you pin him? How do you beat him? And that was kind of the thought process as we were going through. There were just so many things. Okay, do we have Hulk? Do we not have Hulk? Well, Hulk wants to make his farewell tour in overseas and all that shit. What do we have? And there was a lot of unknown. There was a lot of uncertainty because Hulk wouldn't commit. And Brett wasn't, setting the world on fire either as champion.
Do you know that 85% of people who play daily fantasy sports lose? I mean, is it really that surprising? The game is rigged against you. You're playing against thousands of other lineups, not to mention experts who all have more tools and more time, and you don't stand a chance. Until now. Introducing Stat Hero, it's the first ever daily fantasy sports book that puts the player in control and winning within reach. Here's how it works. Stat Hero shows you their lineups and dares you to beat them. It's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup. You name your stakes, winner take all. You have the advantage. Stat Hero is showing you their lineup ahead of time. Nobody else does that. This has been my experience. It's why I made the switch. I got to tell you, I'm all about that action, boss. And I'm a little bit of a grinder, but I am a huge fan of the way Stat Hero does this. It's totally changed my approach to daily fantasy sports. I feel like I'm in control. Stat Hero is the daily fantasy sports concept the way it was always meant to be, at least in my opinion. I don't want to play a bunch of nameless, faceless strangers. I want to go head to head and I want to beat my buddies. That's the reason I've always been in small leagues. But now that Stat Hero's here, dude, I can do this everywhere online. 1-on-1. Play Stat Hero now and change the odds. Go to stathero.com/wrestle and sign up for free. And right now you can get 3 times back on your first play. They're giving you a 300% match. That's unheard of. Go to stathero.com/wrestle. That's stathero.com/wrestle. Restrictions apply. See stathero.com for details, but go to stathero.com/wrestle. So, Brett wrote in his book a lot about one day in the locker room on the way to WrestleMania. I'm assuming when they're doing these house shows. He has Yoko just lay down so he can see, is it possible for me to even put the sharpshooter around these gargantuan tree limbs here that you have for legs? Or tree trunks, in fact. Anyway, he can. So he feels like, all right, I'm getting my shit together. I'm going over. And he also wrote in his book that he had no idea he was going to drop the title to Yoko at Mania until the night before, and he was crushed. Of course, the match itself goes just under 9 minutes, and it gets 3 stars. Of course, Mr. Fuji threw salt in Hart's eyes. Yoko's going to cover him for the pin. And then we know what happens. But Brett wrote in his book that Yoko blew up and cut off Brett's spots and went home earlier than they had originally discussed. And as a result, Brett is furious. Do you remember talking to Brett about the match afterwards, or was the conversation strictly about Hogan?
Brett was upset. Look, no doubt about it. Brett was upset. And I don't remember when Vince had the talk with Brett. It probably was the night before because we hadn't really made the decision until the day before. So there was a lot going back and forth and is this the right thing to do? What should we do? And I think that, Vince going with his gut, we did what we eventually did. As far as the match going shorter, that was a timing issue, nothing more, nothing less. The show had gone long, and we were at a point where to make sure that we got everything in, that some of the time was cut off on that, and they got that midway through, and that was a Vince call at the time that, let's go. We got to go because we got to make sure that we get everything else in.
I don't think even Brett knew that. I think Brett still to this day thinks Yoko cut it off. But you're saying It was communicated to the
Well, I'm
referee.
telling you, yeah, it was communicated while they were in the ring. Yes.
So it goes to the ref. The ref tells Yoko. Yoko
we
tells Brett.
didn't have IFBs at the time, but yes, we got the cue to the referee through timekeeper and let him know that we need to go. We need to go now.
Got it.
So that was a call from us, looking at it and going, okay, here we've got X amount of time. Probably debate as to where that time should have gone, but at the same time, hindsight being 2020, you got to be careful and you've got to make sure that you get everything on the air back in those days, because at whatever time it was, you had your 3 or your 4 hour window, and you had 5 minutes. You had to be off at 5 minutes before the hour, so that they could rewind the tapes for the replays. It was an antiquated system. It wasn't digital. It wasn't the way that things are now. It was a completely different world in which we lived. So you had to hit your times, and you had to get things off. Early is preferable. So that's why, we kind of rushed the match, and I regret it, because I think that Brett could have had a hell of a match with Yoko. And he has had great matches with Yoko.
Brett also wrote in his book that he felt like this was Yokozuna's best match ever. Do you agree with that? That perhaps this was Yoko's best performance?
Up until that time, yeah. I think Yoko had a lot of great matches, frankly.
Well, it's all the backdrop to Hulk Hogan coming out, and this is Brett's first time main eventing WrestleMania. As I've told the story before, I made the call to my friend, "Hey man, who won, Yokozuna or Bret Hart?" "Hulk Hogan." "Wait a minute. No. I'm saying for the world title, like who's the world champion? Is it Bret Hart or is it Yokozuna?" "Oh, Hulk Hogan."
So let me stop you there.
Yeah.
So as a fan, since you didn't see it live,
Right.
did that not make you want to see it?
Yes, it did.
See what happened?
I did.
Okay.
My point is, Brett had to be devastated and feel like his chance at the top, because he's always painted the picture. I was a loyal soldier. I was the best performer. I never missed any matches. I never hurt anybody, et cetera, et cetera. I was over like Rover, did everything right, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as I get going, they yank the rug out from under me and give it to Hogan again. That was at least the way he has expressed, in a roundabout way, his feelings in the years past. Was it all over him at the time? Was it just written all over his face? Was he been in your ear about it? What do you remember?
Oh God. Yeah, no, Brett was definitely upset. Brett, I think looked at it as a lack of confidence that, okay, man, here I am, I'm going. And now they're going in a completely different direction, in an old direction at that. Not realizing that it was temporary. And yeah, man, he's in a big spot. He's got his family there. Everybody's there, basically in his eyes for him. And I think that would be a kick in the gut to anybody, just to go out and you're presumably at the top of your game. Definitely in his career at that point, that was the highest he'd ever gotten. So yeah, he's looking at it. This is major. This is the biggest deal that he could possibly imagine. And boom, somebody else is walking out. Got people all over Alabama calling their friends saying who won, and his name isn't the one being mentioned. It's not even the guy that was in the match. Yeah, man, that was kicking the nuts to him.
In May, Brett wrote in his book that he does the photo shoot with him and Hulk playing tug of war with the title to build to SummerSlam. And this has been something that people talk about to this day. I know you weren't at the shoot, but anything else you can add to this? Because people are listening right now with bated breath.
About what? No, I wasn't at the shoot. I remember the shot, but it was one that we definitely were looking at and hoping to get. But beyond that, I think that it was never promised. It was never guaranteed. And it was simply something that was discussed. And I don't know that even at that point that it had been thoroughly discussed with Hulk and or Brett. Mentioned, yes, but hey, here's what we're going to do. No.
It's kind of ironic that the next pay-per-view is King of the Ring, where Brett is going to be relied on to do 3 long singles matches and then eventually become King of the Ring. Meanwhile, Hulk shows up with the belt, does a job to Yoko in 7 minutes and goes away.
Well, there was a mysterious photographer at ringside. And as we have researched, this took like about 35 years to research and find the real answer. And it was a Japanese photographer that from Gong magazine that actually planted that fireball in his camera to burn Hulk and blind him.
In Brett's book, he writes that Vince McMahon phoned him one night and told him flat out that Hulk won't put you over, Brett. Is that how you remember it?
No, I remember it as a discussion in the dressing room, but he could have phoned him. That definitely could have happened.
Tell us about the dressing room.
No, I'm just saying that I believe that at a television in Vince's office, I believe they had that discussion. And whether or not Vince called him at night, I don't stay with Brett 24 hours a day, nor Vince. So yeah, that definitely could have happened.
Tell me about Brett and his involvement in his creative. Is he coming to you or Vince or Pat or somebody and saying, hey, here's what I'd like to do? Or what about this? Is he pitching ideas or is he just waiting on you guys to bring stuff to him?
Well, from my vantage point, Brett waited a lot on us to bring things to him. And Brett could be, very much in the vein of, I don't think that works. I think I should just beat him.
I'm just thinking, listen, we both think of the world of Jerry Lawler. I mean, what a performer, not only as a commentator, but as an in-ring performer, not just in the WWF, but what he did in Memphis for decades, as a promoter, as a performer. I mean, just an unbelievable talent, but he ain't Hulk Hogan. So, hey buddy, I know you're disappointed that you're no longer champ, but we're going to let you win King of the Ring. Yeah, you got to work 3 matches, but we're going to make you King of the Ring. And then we're going to put you in a program with Jerry Lawler. Is this to placate Brett? I mean, he is a legend, but it's not quite Hulk Hogan, and King of the Ring's nice, but it's not quite the WWF world title. Is this just a way to keep him in a good spot? Keep him happy? Talk me through the creative and how we pivot to Jerry Lawler.
Well, I think it was the best story that we had at the time. It was Brett coming off of the WWE Championship, created a new, basically, title, not to be defended, but to be the king in Bret Hart. And we had recently started doing business with a guy that had called himself the king his entire career in Jerry Lawler. So I think that Brett kind of looked at Lawler as, this guy worked Memphis. Okay, great. He did business in Memphis. That's one city, one market in a small state.
All right, boys and girls, it's summer camping season, so you know what we're talking about. Pitching tents. Come on, you know Blue Chew is sponsoring this episode, and you know that confidence can take you far in life. It can also help in the bedroom, especially when it comes time to step up to the plate. That's when Blue Chew comes in. You see, Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as both Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take these dudes anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. You gotta close that deal, Daddy. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. So no more doctor's visits to the office, no more awkward conversation, no more standing in line at the pharmacy, and maybe best of all, Blue Chew is made right here in the USA. Prepared and shipped directly to your door, all in a discreet package. And by the way, when that package arrives, people get excited to see the postman. You know, back in the day, we used to be excited to get mail, but now it's time to deliver the goods. Because once you open that discreet package, well, your package is going to be ready, Daddy. They always say that first impressions are important, but what about lasting impressions? This is going to be a long-lasting impression. I've heard over the years women say that confidence is sexy. Well, Blue Chew can help you get that confidence where it counts. If you could benefit from a little extra confidence when it's time to perform, Blue Chew can help. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free. Huh? I said free. When you use our promo code WRESTLE at checkout, just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. The promo code is WRESTLE, and you'll receive your first month for free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode and your hard ding dong. Seriously, try it. BlueChew.com. Promo code WRESTLE. So he's going into King of the Ring with an injured ankle. He being Brett, pronouns pal. Was there any concern that Brett wouldn't be able to go, or was Brett a gamer and he'll find a way to rub some dirt on it and get through?
Yeah, I don't ever remember Brett complaining about being injured. So that may be something that he had that I don't think anybody else was really aware of. Interesting note in Brett's book. He says that he wrestles 3 times here. We'll run through those matches in a moment. But he wrote in his book that Pat told him not to use the sharpshooter for any of the finishes. Do you know why? Yeah, to be different. To show that he was the excellent of execution and to be able to show that he can beat you in any way. Well, he's going to beat Razor Ramon in 10 minutes and 27 seconds. It was the first match on the card. Ramon's going to signal for the Razor's Edge, but Hart turns it into a cradle for a near fall. Then Razor goes for a backward suplex, but Hart turns in midair and falls on him for the 3 count. And, it's technically the first King of the Ring tournament match on WWF pay-per-view. And I guess it really set the pace, or it set the tone for a fun night of matches, because he starts with Razor at 10.5 minutes, and then he works with Perfect for nearly 19 minutes, 18:55. Meltzer would say they exchanged moves early with the storyline to show that Hart was the better scientific wrestler as he won all the spots. In the end, they're doing a cradle. Hart ends up winning after reversing an inside cradle, and then both shake hands to make sure the fans know that Perfect isn't really a bad guy. But Meltzer loved it. He gave it 4.25 stars. And then the last match, it's Brett versus Bigelow. Again, 18 minutes and 11 seconds. That's a long time for a big fella. Hart's coming in injured and exhausted, so Bigelow's going to dominate him. And Meltzer would say for such a climatic match, there was very little crowd reaction early. Eventually they do start to get with it. The last 8 minutes were hot action with both men getting near falls, ending with Hart getting the pin with a victory roll, 3.75 stars. So it's kind of a cool moment here. I guess we should mention too that, they tease that there's going to be a DQ, but then restart it. Either way, Brett is the King of the Ring, besting Bigelow, Perfect, and Razor. Long matches, quite a performance from Brett. I know a lot of people still talk about this show primarily for it being Hogan's swan song, but this really is the Bret Hart show, King of the Ring 93, is it not? Absolutely it was. And I think that it was, again, a rebuilding that confidence in Bret, that Bret, not only is worthy of being the champion, but put him in a position like King of the Ring, having 3 matches in one night, and he comes out victorious at the end and gets to show everybody exactly what he could do. So yeah, this was build Bret back night. It's a very special night for Bret Hart's career, and he had 3 really good matches. Again, with Bigelow, Meltzer gave it 3.75 stars. With Perfect, he gave it 4.25. With Razor, he gave it 3 stars. Solid performances. Of the 3, did you have a favorite? Ramon? Oh my Bigelow, God. Perfect was, and part of the thing was, you go back to, SummerSlam, what was it? 91. Yep. That Perfect and Bret just tore the house down. Stole the show. Unbelievable. Yeah. Yes. Unbelievable show. And, here again, I think that they just had chemistry. They could just go out and, having not seen, touch, talk to each other in 10 years. And I think that they would go out and get in the ring, having seen each other for the first time and all that time, and tear the house down and never discuss a single spot. That's the kind of performers they were. We all know that
starting something new can be nerve-wracking. Wouldn't you like to know beforehand whether it was going to work out or not? Well, Credit Karma can give you more confidence before you make a decision. Credit Karma's game-changing technology shows you tailored offers for credit cards and personal loans that you're more likely to be approved for, so you can apply with more confidence. They use your credit and other financial information to show you custom recommendations. Whether you want cash back, travel rewards, or to consolidate debt, Credit Karma can help you find the offers that fit your goals. With a selection of options and approval odds, you have the power to make informed decisions. Credit Karma. Apply with confidence. Go to creditkarma.com/podcast to learn more and find tailored offers just for you. That's creditkarma.com/podcast, or you can see your offers on the Credit Karma app. Apply with confidence today. Go to creditkarma.com/podcast or the Credit Karma app. You'll be glad you did. Do you think, and I'm not saying this to be funny, do you think this was perhaps Kurt's last great match?
Yeah, probably so.
I mean, I'm not saying that to be disparaging. I know he's going to continue to work matches, with Shawn Michaels and a lot of other guys along the way, I think, or maybe that was after. I don't know. It just feels like this might be his last really, really great match.
I think you're right, because after that, the Kurt's injuries and everything that kept him out of the ring for a while and what have you. I think that this was the last time that Kurt had a dance partner that he could really shine, and same thing for Bret. I thought that it was excellent, and it was, a good pairing, and that, as you said, these two had awesome natural chemistry and showed it every single time that they got into the ring. So it was good. It was good for Bret, and I think it was great for Kurt as well, because it showed that, well, you know what, man, he's still got it.
And how important was it, in that last match, the finals with Bigelow, to tease that Bigelow had won? Because that is the way it was framed and positioned until referee Earl Hebner ran down and explained, no, that was outside interference. And rather than it being a DQ, they restarted. But that's sort of fake takeaway, because after he wins 2 times, you got to think, oh, well, he's definitely going to win this. But when we tease, no, Bigelow won, it keeps fans on the edge of their seat, and where they really have to keep guessing, right?
It's a Pat Patterson special.
I love it. Well, afterwards, we know Jerry Lawler's going to attack Bret Hart, and it's all based on who's the real king. And in Bret's book, he wrote that there's a meeting between Hulk, Vince, and himself the day after King of the Ring. Do you remember that? The 3-way meeting? Is this where the conversation happens?
It may have been, and I think it was just, to get to a point, let everybody get along, and let's move this down the road.
Context is king. Let's remember again, Hogan's going to stick around for the European tour. We covered that exhaustively in our WrestleMania 9 show. Go check that out if you want to hear it. But we know that Hogan is not long for this world. He's going to go make Thunder in Paradise. He's going to take a break from wrestling. He's decided he's not having as much fun as he wanted, whatever. But we're also making Bret Hart here. It's the Bret Hart show at King of the Ring, but he's programmed with Jerry Lawler. The reason I bring that up is I think a lot of people assumed, well, the only thing that's keeping Bret out of the title picture is Hulk Hogan. But Yoko's still the champ. He just beat Hogan. So what's next for Yoko? 2.5 weeks after this King of the Ring, Lex Luger steps onto the Intrepid and body slams Yokozuna to launch the Lex Express. He's no longer.
We need a hero. God, man, think about it. We're doing this on the 4th of July.
Yep.
And you're going back 30 years now? 28 years? 28 years ago, on this day, I would have been on the Intrepid 107 degrees on the deck of this magnificent ship. People dropping like flies from heat exhaustion. and we're all down in the underneath and the quarters and all that, and laying all this shit out. And Bill Fralick, we got Bill Fralick from the Atlanta Falcons. I think he was from the Atlanta Falcons. Bill was a friend of JR's, but we had some studs there, man. We had some, decent name football players and basketball players and athletes that came and gave it their best shot to try and slam Yokozuna. None of them could do it until, by God, Lex Luger got the call. He was vacationing out on Massapequa Bay, and he rented a helicopter and came on over to try. And thank God he got there in time.
What's Brett's reaction to, I'm out of the title picture, but this new guy you brought in who didn't get over as a heel, he's in it now. He's Captain America.
Brett was Canadian. From Canada. Kind of like the Canada strap match.
Is that all you're going to give me?
We were moving on, and it was looking at the situation from trying to build multiple baby faces and multiple attractions, and looking at Brett as King of the Ring and working with Lawler. Brett pretty much at that point was made, and trying to make Lex, trying to elevate Lex as best we could.
Context is king. So I just want to add some here for a minute.
No, Brett was king.
Okay. Historically, this has been regarded as a quote unquote babyface territory. The good guy's the champ. For years and years, a lot of other territories worked. Like when Ric Flair was the touring NWA champion, he's a heel. And people would come to town. I mean, he would go to town and take on the top babyface. And that's the way we thought we drove business, the babyface chasing. But that's not really the way the WWF did it. It was Hulk Hogan. It was Bruno. It's the babyface champ. And now we're moving away from that. Now it is this mean, nasty Yokozuna from Japan, because that was heat back then, brother. So I get why you would say, well, yeah, then we need an American hero to slay him. That's sort of the formula for wrestling. But why does Yoko need the belt? Did we think that, hey, this is a way to establish, as you said, Lex Luger in that spot, but there's also a way that you could have told that same story without the belt and let it be Brett, unless we just didn't have the faith and confidence in Brett to be our top guy.
Well, originally we were thinking, that Luger could be the guy, to beat Yokozuna, and that I don't think that anyone really envisioned Yoko keeping the championship as long as he did.
I'm not arguing
although that was intriguing. And to again clarify, it's when you talk about Ric Flair being the champion and what have you, those were during territorial days where you had a lot of different territories all over the country that didn't have the champion working there every week or every 2 weeks, if you will. The champion came in maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times per year that you had the champion, and you built your baby faces all that time to face the champion, to go the hour Broadway, to push the champion to the limit, to hopefully, get some kind of a return match if you had another date. In New York, that was the territory. So their territory, they always had a babyface champion so that people could get behind their guy and they could root for their guy who was the champion to continue to be the champion and to continue to draw and be that guy. So yeah, this was definitely a departure with Yokozuna. But I think if there was anybody, it was like if you could have had a run with Andre, I would have loved to have had a run with Andre as a champion, as a heel. How the fuck are you going to beat this giant? And Yoko was in that same mold.
Will you just say in a loud, clear voice here, that you were taking the belt off of Brett because you didn't have confidence in his ability to be the top guy. So you wanted to try and just see what could happen with Lex Luger in the spot.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. I just need you to, and then we can move on but
I'm not going to, because that's not the case. It was, again, you're looking at trying something new, and you built Brett, and now it's an opportunity to build multiple people. Did have confidence in Brett. You don't have to be the champion to be the.
Fuck off,
guy.
Bruce. If you had confidence in Brett, you wouldn't have fucked him around with the Hogan finish.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is true.
No,
if you had confidence that he was your top guy, you would have moved on.
What?
If you
we had confidence in him, we would have just beat him and moved on.
No.
So
I'm saying no.
We wouldn't have kept him in a top spot. We wouldn't have continued to push him on. You can have more than one top guy. You can have, you have to have a few top guys and a few attractions.
Not arguing any of that. Go back to the beginning of the WrestleMania formula. Whenever there is a world title shot on the line, the babyface retains. The good guy comes away with the strap. He wins. It's a rah-rah celebration.
So it was a change in philosophy.
I'm with you on that, but my point is, if you really had faith and confidence in Brett, you wouldn't have reverted back to Hogan. And even if you realized the Hogan thing was a mistake, you would have said, you know what? We got to get back to where we were. Let's keep building this guy. We didn't.
The Hogan thing was a short term, and I'm not going to get into the whole fucking goddamn
European tour. Yeah,
European tour, because again, that was a discussion. That was the reason why, and that's what we were doing. And did it work out that way? No, because it wasn't working. But it was always a short term deal. It wasn't we don't have confidence in Brett, let's put it on Hulk. No, it was, let's put it on Hulk. We're going to have this short run. We have a short window with Hulk before he's going to go do Thunder in Paradise. Hopefully we can get him to SummerSlam. But again, that all broke down in the middle.
So
it wasn't a lack of confidence by any stretch of the imagination. If you've got two people and you've got one, that again, traditionally has been a proven draw, and you've got another brand new one that you can continue to build, but you've only got a short window for one of those and you've got long-term on the other. Well, if you've got an opportunity to use that star power to get other people over, then use it.
Hey, Bruce, did you realize that some of those big box stores, like maybe you need to go get some motor oil or some wiper blades, or, those big box car part stores, did you know they had two pricing tiers, one for mechanics and one for guys like me and you?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to explain that one to me. What do you mean they have two different? What's going on here?
Here's the deal. If you go into one of those big box retailers and you are a mechanic, then you have a special price. But if you're just regular Joe Blow like me and you, Bruce, they're going to charge you up to twice as much for the same parts. Now, RockAuto.com, they don't do that. RockAuto.com is a family business serving auto parts customers online for 20 years. So go to RockAuto.com to shop for auto and body parts from hundreds of manufacturers, and you'll always get the lowest price possible. They don't have different pricing tiers like airlines do. It's not based on what the market will bear. It's the same great price every single time. And Bruce, they have everything you could ever need for your car. Tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpet. Whether it's for a daily driver or your classic car, everything can be delivered right to you, directly to your door. And by the way, Bruce, the catalog at rockauto.com is so easy, even you can do it.
RockAuto.com catalog is unique. It's easy to navigate, and you get to quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose the brands, the specifications, and the prices that you prefer. Best of all, prices at RockAuto.com are always reliably low, and the same for professionals as it is for do-it-yourselfers. Why spend up to twice as much for the same parts? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need is at RockAuto.com.
So go to RockAuto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. And when you get to that How Did You Hear About Us box, please write the word WRESTLE so they know that we sent you. That's RockAuto.com, and at checkout, you'll see that How Did You Hear About Us box. Please write in the word WRESTLE and let them know Bruce Pritchard sent ya. So another memorable Raw moment is Brett versus Bam Bam, where Lawler is in the balcony cutting one-liners on Stu and Helen Hart while they're in the crowd. We've always heard that Brett had no issues with Jerry doing this, but did you ever hear anything to the contrary?
No. And for the most part, Jerry ran all of that by Brett and Stu and Helen because, again, the respect for Stu Hart and the respect for Brett, and just Helen Hart being one of the classiest women you'd ever want to meet in your life. The epitome of just like I can't even think of anybody ever, even of the kids or anybody ever talking about Helen getting upset and raising her voice or anything like that. She was the epitome of class. So yeah, it was funny to do that to the matriarch of that family.
At the same time this angle is going on, Brett is working with Jerry a lot down in the USWA. Was he happy to do these deals? Is this part of his WWF contract? Is he paid separately for that? What can you tell us about this interesting little talent trade that you guys were doing with USWA?
I don't know that Brett was necessarily happy about going down and working in Memphis, but it was something to help Jerry out in Tennessee. Yes.
We should mention Brett and Yoko in a cage on the house shows is going to draw 15,000 people for $155,000 at the Arrowhead Pond. There's got to be something to this Brett Yoko thing, but we'll move on. SummerSlam, Jerry Lawler is going to claim an injury and Doink the Clown is going to take his spot. Here it is from the Observer. Lawler comes out on crutches to do the old broken leg trick. He brought Doink out as his replacement. Doink threw a bucket of confetti on the ringside crowd and then threw a bucket of water on Bruce Hart, who was at ringside with Owen Hart. It said that Bruce Hart didn't know the bucket of water was coming. Please tell me that's real.
That's real.
I love you guys. And it feels like Owen would have known and just not told him, right?
Probably.
Maybe his idea. Yeah. They have a decent match.
It actually might have been Brett and Owen's
idea.
Yeah.
So they have a decent match. And Meltzer says, but that was all. It ended in 9 minutes and 5 seconds when Brett got Doink in the sharpshooter, and then Lawler broke a crutch over his head for the DQ. Star and a half. Whose idea was it, this pivot to Doink in there before Jerry?
It was a way to get heat, and it was a way for to kind of get a double match out of the thing, and for Lawler to get heat. Just that much more heat. It was a dickish thing to do. And then it was just, we got the match later on, but yeah, it was a fun spot.
Listen, I'm a big Southern wrestling fan, obviously growing up here in Alabama, but I understand there is an anti-Southern wrestling bias. Do you think Vince or anybody else had any concerns about Jerry Lawler's in-ring style, that perhaps it was quote unquote too Southern?
I think there was a concern, but you know what? Jerry's mouth, I think, could always outweigh those concerns, because as soon as you put a microphone in Jerry's hands, Jerry was able to get any heat and regain any credibility that he may lose. And Jerry knew how to adapt his style as well. Lawler was, yes, he was a Southern Tennessee guy that worked that Southern Tennessee style. However, when you got Jerry out, man, Jerry went to Florida for Eddie Graham and worked that territory and did big business. Jerry came to Texas with us and with Blanchard and did big money and was able to adapt his style to wherever he was. So I never really looked at Jerry as, oh, hey, he's this Southern wrestler. I don't think Jackie Fargo would have gotten over anywhere else, other than Tennessee. I don't think that Jackie, because of his style, was something that he could have adapted. Jerry adapted. Some guys could, some guys couldn't.
Man, I love talking old wrestling with Bruce. I love the nostalgia of professional wrestling. I just love talking about the good old days, man. I think all of us get to a certain age. Boy, that keeps coming up. I'm going to be 40, and I'd like to talk about when I was 10 forever, because it just feels like, I don't know, like the late 80s, early 90s. It's the golden era of music, of sports, of television, of wrestling. And I just remember, getting up on the Saturday morning, getting those cartoons going, getting the little morning wrestling going. And then, of course, it was 6:05, but the other constant was cereal. It's one of the best parts of being a kid, man. But then eventually you grow out of it. And for a lot of us, we grew out of wrestling and we grew out of cereal because we realized we shouldn't be eating this stuff. It's just filled with sugar. How was this ever a good idea? But now it's fun again, thanks to Magic Spoon. I know this sounds a little silly, but Magic Spoon has figured out how to do this with 0 grams of sugar. I didn't even think that was possible. A great tasting cereal that reminds me of being a kid with 0 grams of sugar and 13 or 14 grams of protein and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. How is this real? It must be Magic Spoon. It's only 140 calories a serving. And check this out. How about this for a list? It's keto friendly, it's gluten free, it's grain free, it's soy free, it's low carb, and it's GMO free. And you can even build your own box. Check this out. You can get a custom bundle with cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, and cinnamon. And you might even be an evil genius. What if you mix some cocoa and some peanut butter? It's going to taste just like a peanut butter cup. Go to magicspoon.com/wrestle and grab a custom bundle of cereal and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code WRESTLE at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/wrestle and use the code WRESTLE to save $5 off. Thanks, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this episode and our nostalgic breakfast. It's back, baby! It's magicspoon.com/wrestle. Of course, at this point, Jack Tunney is going to order Jerry Lawler to wrestle Bret Hart because of doing the whole fake broken leg trick, or be suspended for life. And of course, Hart starts the match, hitting Lawler with a bucket, pounding on him with a crutch. Lawler makes the comeback with shots from the second crutch. He's going to ram Bret's crotch into the post and start choking him with a crutch. Security's going to hold back Owen and Bruce. Eventually, Bret comes back with a low blow, pulls down his strap, which was lost on the entire crowd, and then used a pile driver, came off the top rope with a punch, and put on the sharpshooter for the submission in 6 minutes and 32 seconds. And Meltzer would write, Hart kept the hold on for several minutes while several referees and road agents and family members stood around. It was finally announced the decision was reversed and that by virtue of the win, Lawler had become king of the WWF. So I guess king is a new title, but it's under Mexican rules since it could change hands by DQ. Lawler ends up being carried out on a stretcher, and while on the stretcher, Bruce attacks Lawler. And as a match, it's maybe 3 stars, but the whole scenario from start to finish was worth 4 stars. Meltzer loved it. Loved the idea of showing the harder edge of Bruce, not Bruce, but of Bret. Good stuff, man. I mean, any sort of doubts you had about this decision creatively had to be quelled when you actually see him pull it off, right?
Yeah, dude, I knew they would because Lawler's that much of a pro and Bret's just that damn good. But what is lost on a lot of people is Lawler did one thing at the very end of the night that to me was the greatest heel move and just so simple. After all the bullshit, Lawler still had his crown and shit, and they're wheeling Jerry out on the stretcher after he's been beaten to death by Bret Hart. He's been beaten by Bret's brother Bruce and just, you know, all this crap, and they're wheeling Jerry out. And right before Jerry goes through the curtain, he barely holds his arm up and his one finger saying, I'm number one, I'm the winner. Jerry couldn't move, was so beat up, he's being wheeled out on a stretcher, was able to barely get that arm up and then put that one finger up like, yeah, I'm the winner, I'm your king, and I may be on a stretcher, but I beat your guy.
You love that shit.
To me, that's just genius. Loved it. Absolutely fucking, but that's the tale of a true pro, of a guy that gets it, of a real heel.
Right. That
even when you have kicked my ass and left nothing else, I won. It gets that last little right up the ass. It's beautiful. Pure beauty, Conrad.
All right, Bruce, it's time to talk about something you and I both love talking about, and that's our pets. We've debated this for a long time, but I think it's clear now that Ginger is the official dog of Something to Wrestle. That's been well established.
Yeah, well, Dodger is actually the official dog of Something to Wrestle with, Bruce Pritchard. And did you know that up to 80% of the immune system is influenced by the gut?
I did know that because I know about Solid Gold. And hey, don't you interrupt my commercial here. I've been carrying the heavy water for Solid Gold. I know your dogs love the human grade bone broth, right?
Absolutely. It goes on everything and they love it.
So serious business. This is real. Okay, we're deviating from the script, but Solid Gold will be happy because this is real life. In real life, in the Pritchard household, in your refrigerator, if Stephanie opens the door and twists that cap, the dogs go nuts. True or false?
Yes, every single one of them comes running with the little tails wagging, and they just, they'll even take a sip, but they get it on their food, and they absolutely love it. And if you don't get that little pop, they're not as happy.
So let me just explain. We believe in Solid Gold because we know it's good for our dogs. And you've been hearing us talk about Solid Gold forever. But you need to know your dog is going to love it too. I mean, listen, when I was a kid, my mom tried to make me eat my vegetables. I didn't love that, okay? Your dog is going to love Solid Gold. This is real life. And by the way, a proper diet and digestive health is going to enable your pet to better fight environmental allergies. So if your dog starts to age a little bit and get a little wonky, it's probably because you haven't been feeding homeboy the right food. Solid Gold to the rescue. Don't take our word for it. This is the world's first holistic pet food company, started way back in '74 by Sissy McGill. She was inspired by the idea that European pet food and European Great Danes outlasted their American counterparts. So she created a recipe that's still in use to this day and is helping our pets. And we're not just talking about physically. We're talking our pets' mind, body, and spirit. High quality food is the key to Solid Gold, and it's something that you've been using for years now, right, Bruce?
Absolutely, and Solid Gold's nutritional platform is inspired by their founding belief that high quality food is the best way to impact our pet's mind, body, and spirit. As you said, it's just like us. We want high quality food. Why should you deny your dog?
Solid Gold has revolutionized this holistic pet food category, and they have a recipe for any dog or cat's dietary needs, including healthy, whole grain, grain-free, wet food, supplements like sea meal, and Dodger's favorite, 100% human-grade bone broth for dogs. Solid Gold foods are just different. They cleanse the digestive system with whole superfoods, they balance with living probiotics, and they fuel with omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, supporting gut health and nourishing your pet both inside and out.
And Solid Gold is the place to do it. So right now, to save 30% on select Solid Gold products, go to solidgoldpet.com/wrestle. That's solidgoldpet.com/wrestle to save 30% on select Solid Gold products. Remember, solidgoldpet.com/wrestle. We love Solid Gold. Dodger does too.
Outstanding. And I got to think that Vince McMahon fell in love with Jerry Lawler when he saw that one finger pop up, right?
Absolutely, because it just showed how good he was. That never stopped working, never forgot that was the heat.
By the way, it's also notable that this is the same show where Lex does not defeat Yoko for the title. So it's just a fascinating story to see how, Hogan's out at King of the Ring. Well, did you hear that Brett won and had 3 badass matches? Oh man, Lex didn't really win the title. Yeah, but did you hear he had 2 really good matches, including an incredible scene with Jerry Lawler? He's in the backdrop, man, doing his thing. Brett wrote in his book that he had some receipts for Lawler in this match. Did you notice or feel anything for the heat between the two at all?
I didn't know the two ever had heat.
He wrote in his book that around this time his contract was coming due and he wasn't completely happy about his creative. Owen's current placement, him not getting the win over Hogan, et cetera, et cetera. And he's even been thinking about taking a year off. Do you remember him discussing that with you or Vince, that maybe he wants to take the year off?
Yeah, I know he wanted to go do some acting. I think this was about the time that he wanted to go and do Sinbad. And he wanted to go and do Lonesome Dove, but he had some opportunities in the acting world. I think Brett kind of was feeling beat up and maybe not loved as much as he would like to have been loved.
This is going to be an interesting development. Stay tuned for this. It will become important later. Shawn Michaels walks out on the company. What is Brett and Shawn's relationship like at this time? We'll call it, summer 93.
I think they were friends. I mean, I think that they were friendly, no animosity that I knew of.
Is it just me, or does it feel like it's special occasion season? We just have Mother's Day in the rear view. Father's Day will be here before you know it. It feels like everybody is graduating or getting married. Now is one of those times where the pressure is on to give the perfect gift for an anniversary or a wedding gift or a birthday or whatever. And that can be stressful, man, especially if they've given you gifts in the past. Now you feel like you have to give them a gift. But if you're like me, you don't want to half-ass the gift. You want to give the meaningful gift, the personable gift, the gift that's the talk of the party or the celebration. What you need to do is go to paintyourlife.com. And by the way, this is a great option if your family hasn't been able to get together for quite a while. This is a cool way to bring everybody together safely. Now, I need to mention, when I first heard about paintyourlife.com, I thought, well, this is a great idea, but it's got to be terribly expensive. Because I grew up on, if you see some oil tycoon in a movie, he always had like a painting of himself over his fireplace. And I just associate it with, the filthy rich. Turns out it's real affordable over there at paintyourlife.com. So affordable that I've given this in my real life a lot. For starters, I got one for a birthday and I was sold. It's hanging in my dining room right now. But for Christmas, I got my wife one of our wedding day. She loves it. Also hanging in our house right now. Worth mentioning, got one for my mama, got one for my dad. And here's what's cool about that. My mom's third child is her dog. So we got one of her dog, but she also misses her dad. So got one of my grandfather. My dad got a photo of his mom, and my cousin got a photo of his dad who recently passed away. But even the old nature boy himself has not one, but two different items from paintyourlife.com. One of his beautiful day of celebration with his lovely bride, Wendy. And of course, who could forget his lovely daughters? I'm telling you, paintyourlife.com has my credit card number on file because I'm paying for all these. None of these are comps. I really believe in paintyourlife.com. This is a sponsor that I will get behind every single time because it's real. It is a truly meaningful, personable, special gift. It's a professional hand-painted portrait created from any photo, all at a truly affordable price. This is real, guys. You choose from a team of world-class artists. You work with them until every doggone detail is perfect. The platform's super easy. You just take a picture right off your freaking phone and upload it to their user-friendly platform, and bam, in less than 5 minutes, you're off to the races. It really is a quick and easy process, too. You're going to get this hand-painted portrait in just about 3 weeks. And by the way, they can do anything. I was just mentioning I had multiple peoples in the photo. Hell, I even had a dog in one. But yourself, your children, a cherished pet, a special place, your whole family, you can combine photos into one painting. A guy at the office recently had a baby. Unfortunately, his dad passed away. So for his mom's Christmas present, he gave her a painting of his son meeting her husband, his dad. The baby never met Grandpa, but now paintyourlife.com made it happen. Dude, I got chill bumps just talking about that. This is the perfect gift for any occasion, and it will be cherished forever. So here's the thing, man. If you don't like it, how about this for a guarantee? At paintyourlife.com, there's no risk. If you don't love the painting, your money's refunded, guaranteed. And right now is a limited time offer. You can even get 20% off your painting. That's right, 20% off and free shipping. To get this special offer, just text the word WRESTLE to 64,000. That's WRESTLE to 64,000. Text WRESTLE to 64,000. Paint your life. Celebrate the moments that matter most. Terms apply. Available at paintyourlife.com/terms. Again, text WRESTLE to 64,000. So even though Brett may be frustrated, disappointed, etc., he's still not interested in jumping ship, at least based on this radio interview he did on The Fan in Toronto. I think it's 590. He called WCW the minor leagues, and he talked about how WCW isn't doing drug testing, quote unquote, obviously. This is not a directive. It's not like you guys are having meetings. And guys, if you go out there and you get a question on a media call about WCW, be sure to heel on them. That's not something you say. It's just, guys, know, take care of us.
No, you're not. First of all, if anything, the directive would have been not to discuss anything about WCW.
Yes.
So that's Brett.
While he's there on this appearance, he calls Ric Flair the most overrated wrestler of all time. I think this is the first time that he publicly disparaged Rick.
Not a lot of love lost there, man. There really wasn't. I don't think that. I think that Brett was so excited to work with Rick, and then when he did work with Rick, I don't feel that Brett, well, obviously Brett wasn't impressed, and also on that, Rick was on the other side of his career.
He's on the downhill, yeah.
And he wasn't wrestling the Ric Flair in his prime. So, I think that, Rick fell into a rut at some point, because I've seen Rick through the years. Rick adapted to his opponents just as well as anybody. Rick did his spots, but everybody did their spots. And I just think that in Brett's mind, it was like, the almighty Ric Flair was going to be this magical thing. And by that time, I don't know that we had the magical Ric Flair in that period.
When you see or you hear of reports that, hey, Brett just went on another station, trashed WCW, and said Ric Flair is the most overrated wrestler of all time, what's the company stance on something like that? It feels like for years and years, you just don't acknowledge them. When this happens, is there even a discussion?
I'm sure if somebody heard about it, I'm sure there'd be a discussion. Just say, hey, we talk about us. We don't talk about our competition. That they were even competition at that point.
Well, the Hart family Lawler feud saga will continue as we're heading towards Survivor Series. And Brett said in his book, the crux of this happens one night at a hotel bar with Vince and Pat, where they're up until like 3 a.m. And that this would eventually transition into a feud between Brett and Bruce Hart. And the match at Survivor Series between the Hart family and Lawler and his Knights is supposed to launch this Bruce versus Brett storyline. And Brett argued that it should be Owen, not Bruce, when Owen is the one who's not getting pushed. Looking back at it, obviously Brett was right, but was there real concern with the office about Owen's ability?
There was no concern about Owen's ability. And, I was in this bar discussion until the wee hours of the morning. And the discussion stemmed from an idea and a letter that Bruce had actually written, either Vince or Pat. And we were discussing it with Brett, thinking that, oh my God, this is a really good story, the family story. And, as I've discussed on here before, trying to pitch brother versus brother, and brothers don't fight, pal. I wish that my older brothers knew that, because then maybe they wouldn't have kicked the shit out of me for all those years. But it was Bruce's idea. It was his germ of the idea to do this whole thing with the brothers. And in discussing it with Brett was like, man, he goes, I love the idea. I think Owen's better. I think Owen is the one. He's here. He's talented. He's younger. He's the baby brother. He's got more of a story. I think both, frankly, Bruce and Owen had a great story. Bruce from the older brother and Brett stealing the limelight and getting all the glory that should have been Bruce's. That's a great story too, but we had Owen. People knew who Owen was. So Brett's point was, selfishly, Brett wanted to work with Owen.
Right.
Owen, I think, was probably the best worker of the entire family. And Brett knew that. And Brett just felt that, man, Owen's the guy. Owen's the one you want to do it with. The whole baby brother thing. And I think, Vince may have called Bruce and said, hey, great idea. We're going to use you. But the spot going forward, I think we're going to do with Owen. And I think it was that was definitely the right decision. I could relate to it being the baby brother. I could definitely relate to all the things that Owen would despise about Brett as a baby brother, always being looked over.
Was Jerry Jarrett with the company at that point?
Who knows? I mean, he was probably running it at that point. He probably was in charge and running the whole thing because he's such a genius, and that's what he was brought in to do. I'm pretty sure he was running everything.
When you moved to Stanford, did you just become a bitter old fuck who's argumentative about everything? I'm just asking.
No, I was a bitter old fuck long before.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. So Jared Lawler comes under accusations regarding a second-degree rape case in Memphis right before.
Oh, then Jarrett was definitely still he was still consulting and shit at that point.
CBD isn't about what you feel. It's about what you don't feel, which is stress, anxiety, and pain. Bruce Pritchard and I are feeling better thanks to our friends at Feels. See, Feels is a better way to feel better. Feels is a premium CBD that will keep your head clear and feel your best. It's hassle-free and delivered directly to your door. CBD naturally helps reduce stress, anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness, and there's no hangover or addiction. And I gotta tell you, I didn't know anything about CBD a few years ago. I was nervous about this. I was worried because I didn't understand it. Now that I understand it, man, it's changed my life. I'm sleeping better than ever. I feel better than ever. I've even seen people whose lives have been really before and after with CBD. I mean, you got to see it to believe it. Here's how it works. You place a few drops of Feels under your tongue and you feel the difference within minutes. The thing to remember about CBD is finding your right dose and how important it is. You see, everyone's dose is different. It's not like one size fits all. But once you get it dialed in, man, quality of life's going through the roof. At least that's been my experience. In fact, I feel so strongly about Feels because they help handhold you and sort of guide you through this process if you're a CBD beginner. You see, Feels offers a free CBD hotline to help guide your personal experience so you find the perfect dose. The Feels customer service team is dedicated to making sure that you get the best use out of your CBD. Joining the Feels monthly membership makes your self-care routine easy. You'll save money on every order, and you can pause or cancel at any time. So start feeling better with Feels. Become a member today by going to feels.com/wrestle, and you'll get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's feals.com/wrestle to become a member and get 50% off automatically taken off your first order with free shipping. That's feals.com/wrestle. That's feals.com/wrestle. That's feals.com/wrestle. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. In my head, Jerry Jarrett would have loved the Brett Owen storyline.
I don't know that Jarrett was even involved that much and, even sitting in meetings at that point anymore, but I really don't know what Jerry Jarrett would have loved or not loved other than certain things.
Either way, it's a bad look for the company when Lawler gets himself in trouble. We know ultimately this case is going to go away. But Vince McMahon is also facing steroid stuff in this big trial that's happening. And Lawler's not the only guy from Memphis hanging around. Jarrett is as well. This is a chaotic time, 1993. We're trying to find our next champion. We're starting Monday Night Raw. Hogan's finally leaving. Vince is on trial for his life. One of our mainstays, one of our big featured programs is going to come under fire when there's a charge. It's a lot of moving parts here in 93, man.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenging time to say the least. And it was one of those where you hated, you hated to answer the phone because you were afraid of what ball was dropping at that point.
So we've talked about it before. We'll circle back to it now. We know that the replacement for Jerry Lawler is going to wind up being Shawn Michaels. And I think Shawn makes that big reveal with a little help from his friend Rio Rogers. Tell us about why Shawn was the right guy to replace Lawler, who reached out to him, how you guys put the band back together since he had walked out on the company, and what you remember about this Rio fellow being so tight with Shawn.
Man, we were grasping at straws really, and Shawn was out there, and I believe Vince made the call that, hey, look, we need to figure this out, need to bring you back in. So we did a Rio's roundup with this wonderful talent who was stuck in a really horrible, shitty gimmick called Rio Rogers doing a Dusty Rhodes voice. It was absolutely horrible. I hated it. And this was one of those where, you know, as I said before, Jerry Jarrett was with the company because Rio Rogers was Jerry Jarrett's idea. So if anybody wants to throw any hate on Rio Rogers, you can throw it right to Jerry Jarrett. I thought it was a silly, stupid, horrible idea. I did Dusty to entertain myself and others, and Dusty and shit. And to me, it was just a ripoff. Not good in any way, shape, or form. Enough about that. We had 1 week. We had 1 week to build the damn thing. So we did a Rio's Roundup at Stu and Helen Hart's house, where we interviewed them. Had people in old people masks and all that wonderful shit. And that was done at the late, great Howard Finkel's home. The Rio's Roundup with Shawn Michaels going to the Hart Mansion.
Tremendous.
Yeah. I was like, Fink, I need your house. What exactly are you looking for, Bruce? It's going to be Stu and Helen's house. It'll be the Hart Dungeon, the mansion. I'm not sure that really will depict it, Howard. Your house is perfect. And next thing you know, it was like, when will we be doing this? The crew is on their way. Sean and I will be there shortly. And that was, I mean, seriously, that's how quickly it happened and how fast everything came together where, okay, where are we going to do this? Well, Vince's house is too nice. Pat's house is too nice. I didn't have a house. I had a little shitty condo. And the Fink's house was perfect.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. Hey, SaveWithConrad.com has been saving people money everywhere, all across the map. Justin up in Kernersville, North Carolina, left us a 5-star review, and he said, Jimmy and Jennifer were amazing. The process was very clearly communicated, and I knew the status of my loan every step of the way. I was able to cut 1.5 points from my interest rate and save $180 a month. It was an extremely smooth transaction and completely stress-free. Kudos to you guys. Now, kudos to you, Justin, for hearing our commercials here on the podcast and deciding, you know what, this is worth a shot. It's no cost. It's no obligation. I don't need perfect credit. And if they can't save me money, they won't waste my time. So what am I waiting for? Justin did it, and he's saving $180 a month. How much money can you save? Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com. And oh yeah, we're licensed in more than 40 states. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender, SaveWithConrad.com. I love that that's always the go-to. Hey, who do we know who has something like that we can use? Let's just go.
Exactly. And we had Sean fucking flying in. We had the crew getting ready to go light and set up. And I had no idea what the fuck we were going to do at all. It was like and so I sat down for a few minutes, came up with something, and got Sean and talked to Sean, and we just did it.
Obviously, it's a bad spot for everybody, but I'm sure in a weird way, it's not ideal. They'd love to have a regular payoff, but Brett probably had to be excited about working with Sean, right? He knew it'd be a good match.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I don't think that it was so much of that as it was there was no payoff to the Lawler story at that point, and that was kind of disappointing.
There's a famous story that maybe this match didn't have everybody involved in it that actually we saw that night. It's Bruce, easy for me to say. Bruce, Keith, Brett, and Owen.
Bruce and Keith, they was all in it, baby. Own heart, and Bruce.
It's Shawn Michaels, the Blue Knight, the Red Knight, and the Black Knight. Yeah. The Blue Knight was Greg Valentine, the Red Knight was Barry Horowitz, and the Black Knight was Jeff Gaylord. Not that anybody gave a shit. But originally, one of these knights was supposed to be someone else, right?
Well, actually, there were a couple of someone else's on this evening. One of those someone else's was a gentleman from Knoxville, Tennessee, by the name of Glenn Jacobs.
Wow.
was possibly going to be one of those nights.
I think as the rumor and innuendo goes, there was also discussion about perhaps one of them being Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and maybe a third one that was pretty famous too.
Yeah, well, the one that was flown in for it and actually had the outfit and a match built around was a gentleman that went by the name Chainsaw Charlie. Was supposed to be in that damn match.
It's crazy to think about that Terry Funk story. Catch everybody up. They wanted, I think the original creative was he was going to lose and maybe didn't like it, or maybe that's just a coincidence because around the same time, I think he got a report from the ranch that sadly one of his horses had fallen sick, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we were laying out some different ideas. One of the ideas was, since we had, Greg Valentine and Terry Funk, two major names, and Neidhart was thrown in there as well. But you had major names that would be a part of it that as they were eliminated, they would be unmasked, and it would be like, oh, holy shit, that was Greg Valentine, or oh, holy shit, that was the Anvil. Holy shit, that was fucking Terry Funk. Oh my God. And in going over the match over several drinks the night before, Brett might have told Terry this, and I think Terry was fine being a knight, but I don't think Terry was fine being unmasked as being a knight. And had the stuff there for him, and Terry folded up the outfit, and I think he gave it to either Brett or one of the other Hart members, and left me a message. Pritchard, gotta go home. Tell Vince my horse is sick.
That's the best part. And, tell Vince.
Yeah.
Well, the match is a fucking train wreck. They go nearly 31 minutes. Meltzer would say it's way too long and it just didn't work. They tried to plug Michaels into the Lawler spot and claimed Michaels had been insulting the family all this time, and anyone who actually watched the TV knew better. Michaels just couldn't carry interest, and the Knights came off as jobbers, and Ray Combs, as the announcer, totally buried Bruce and Keith to the TV audience, acting like they weren't even wrestlers. It's a bad look. 1.5 stars, but here's the deal. After the match is when things really get cooking. Owen comes back out and starts arguing with Brett to start his heel turn as his mother starts to weep. And it's all a backdrop to Owen losing. But the big question I guess we should ask is, how did everybody feel about Bruce and Keith being on a national stage? I mean, we all know and love Brett and Owen, but Bruce and Keith, this is sort of their cup of coffee in the big time.
Well, it was a Hart family, so just along with their last name, notwithstanding their talent, they had credibility with the audience because they were members of the Hart family, and the Hart family was as much a part of this entire thing as anything else. So yeah, they didn't embarrass themselves by any stretch of the imagination. It was just, unfortunately, hadn't been in the ring in a while. Styles clashed, and the match was god awful. But again, as you say, it was all kind of it was just a backdrop to get to the jealousy angle with Owen and Brett.
Well, how do you think Owen did here? I mean, Brett is really helping elevate his brother in this storyline, but they do such a great job. It's going to become arguably the premier feud in the whole company. And let's talk about the magic of Bret Hart. He starts this year 93 as the champ. He loses it to Yokozuna, pretty controversial fashion, but bounces right back. 3 big time performances, becomes king of the ring, and immediately starts a hot angle with Lawler. Lawler gets himself in some trouble. Well, he beats the rap, but either way, it's unfortunate we don't get the payoff, but I'll be damned if somehow Brett isn't able to turn it into chicken salad again. Okay, Lawler's out. Fuck, now we're doing it with Owen, and it's going to be great, and everybody's going to love it.
And it was great, and everybody did love it. I think it was about 100 times better than most anticipated. I think people Inside and Out thought that, all right, a short little story, but it was something that everyone could relate to for the most part. At least those that have siblings could definitely relate to a long-standing, ongoing rivalry that one word would set you off and another year long of not speaking to each other and different shit. So I just thought, that Brett, looking at it from where he was, that I think now he was kind of in a happy place working with Owen.
It's so fun to go back and look at this stuff. We should also remind you that the big kicked your leg out from under your leg deal is going to happen in January. This is November. That's at the Royal Rumble. So we're building to that. But in between times, we're going to see Brett and Owen start teaming more to build that family storyline. When did you guys know you had struck gold? Did you know right here at Survivor Series, or was it Royal Rumble, or perhaps WrestleMania when it's, a really featured match?
I think that, first of all, right here, the way that Owen portrayed it, but by the time that we got to the Royal Rumble and there was such real heat with Owen that people were like, oh, come on, man, it's your brother. Royal Rumble was kind of the aha moment of, this has legs. Not even to the point of getting to SummerSlam, but it was like, holy shit, this has legs. This is Mania. And then we got into the whole, double Mania stuff that we got into at that point. But Owen's performance in November was so good that you kind of went, okay, man, yeah, we can get to the Rumble with this, and not really thinking much longer than that, because that was the original idea, was you get to a match. Boy, did it have legs, though. And the aha moment was probably at the Rumble more so, because that's where you felt the audience. The audience was invested in this.
It's really a remarkable story, and we've talked a lot about it. We're going to talk some more about it. If you want to hear more about it right now, check out our Owen Hart episode in the archives. Let's finish up our talk about 1993, though. I do want to ask, is it determined before the end of the year that the Rumble is going to be Brett and Lex winning together and Brett coming out as champion at WrestleMania 10? When did you know, hey, this is what we're doing?
Never. The reason that they came out together was because we didn't know who was going to come out at champion at WrestleMania. The jury was still out on Lex, and I think that
it kept your options open.
I'm sorry?
It kept your options open.
Well, it kept your options open, and it was an opportunity for Lex to either step up and be the guy. But more than anything, it was kind of like, look, we got to get Brett into this, but we've invested so much in Lex that maybe Brett beats them both, Lex and Yoko. There were just so many different ideas going around